It's a common misconception that drinking 8 glasses of water a day is enough for healthy hydration. But sweat consists of water and sodium, which means you need water plus electrolytes to stay properly hydrated. Thankfully, there are products like Element that have all your electrolyte needs covered. You can try Element Recharge Sample Pack by going to drinkelement.com/speak for only the cost of shipping.
Welcome to Speak for Yourself. Marcellus Wiley, horns.
Chill, bruh. We just started.
Oh, really? We beefing? You got on my Columbia blue? In a way, Emmanuel Acho over there looking fresh and dapper. So let's get to these NBA Finals where the Suns are looking dapper and fresh. Up 2-0 against the Bucks after a very strong performance from their top stars. Devin Booker had a game-high 31 points, and Chris Paul, CP3, added 23 points with 8 assists. CP3 said he was not surprised at all with Booker scoring output in Game 2. Take a listen.
And Book had 70 in the game before. You know what I mean? So you don't do that being shy. You don't do that being shy. And like I said, he puts the work in. That's what a lot of people don't see. You see the games, you don't see all the shots after practice and all this different type stuff. So if Book shoot it, I expect it to go in. I get mad at him when he don't shoot.
So Acho, it's time for you to shoot. Who is your early Finals MVP? Booker, Paul?
It's Book, baby, and CP3. Be cautious of what you're saying, big dog, because another topic for another day is who needs the MVP more, assuming the Suns win. Is it CP3 or is it my dog Book? But I think Book's the early Finals MVP because what we know about the Bucks is that they win games by playing good defense. On average in the playoffs, they hold teams to 103 points per game. But the Suns have given them 118 back to back. The reason the Suns are winning isn't because the Bucks aren't scoring. Bucks got 108 points. First two, 108 points, 105 points. On average, the Bucks only score 109 points. So the Bucks are scoring their typical average. But the Bucks usually hold opponents to only 103. The difference right now is Book. Book gave him 31 points last game without attempting a free throw. Book gave him 27 points in game 1 and was terrible from the three-point line and was marginal at best from the field. So early MVP is the real driving factor to the Suns' success. Not that Chris Paul's not the driving factor to the Suns' team, but the reason the Suns are winning games isn't because of their great chemistry, isn't because of their stifling defense, isn't because of their great leadership, isn't because they're not turning the ball over. Was because they putting up points. That's the only reason the Suns are winning these ball games right now. Bucks are doing their thing, but the reason that the Suns are winning, the separating factor is how many points the Suns are scoring. So the reason the reason Book should get MVP is because he's the best scorer.
Oh, I knew you were leaning. You know, on this show, we don't lean. We be objective, okay? We got rooting interests, but we don't lean. You were leaning there. You know what Coach say? If he leaning, just help him keep going that way he wants. I noticed you started off by saying, is it CP3 or my dog Book? Oh, your dog Book?
You like CP3.
I don't say my dog CP3.
You said my friend.
I don't say my dog.
You don't use the same vernacular. You're older than me.
I like.
You say my elder statesman.
Fresh. Look, all I know is it's CP3, and you should have stopped there. But your dog Book is a beast. We know what this is, but let's just play the game of hypotheticals, that they stay tied. Game 1, CP3 looks better. Game 2, Devin Booker. Let's just say they just keep going back and forth with that hot potato, right? If there's a tie, it's going to CP3 for the legacy play.
I agree.
We've noticed in voting interests right now, they try to get the most juice out of story, even more so than by production. Let's go to Terrell Owens and his Hall of Fame induction. And it took him not one, not two, but third ballot to get in part because they were looking at story and narrative more so than production. Same thing happens when you talk about an NBA Finals MVP. It happens fast in terms of the voting. Who we gonna give it to? Who we gonna give it to? And if it's anything of closeness, like, damn, Booker averaged this. No, Chris Paul's right there. They're going to go to Chris Paul for that legacy play. The impact credit also goes to Chris Paul leading up to these finals. Think about this team. Last year, did they make the playoffs? No. This year, they make the playoffs. They had additions, but what's the biggest addition? Chris Paul. So he's already walking in with some leverage in tow. Now, if you see how this is going to play out, let's play some of these number games as you tried to play. We don't want to use the Clippers series against Chris Paul, so I won't count it for Devin Booker as well. He had some struggles there, too, because of the mask. But let's go to that Denver series before we get to this Milwaukee series. Do you know in the Denver series that Chris Paul averaged more points per game than Devin Booker? Do you know, of course, more assists, right? But let's talk about shooting, 63% to 49%, Chris Paul favored. Let's talk about from the three, 75%. Oh, my God, compared to 31%. Chris Paul, without COVID, Devin Booker, without the mask, let's just isolate variables. Denver series, Chris Paul, he finished that one.
Yes, sir.
Right? He iced it. Even the Clippers he iced it, but I'm going to throw that out.
Of course.
Right now, we're in a position where the last 3 games, Chris Paul's been averaging 32 points a game. Chris Paul's on fire, dog. He got his COVID legs. They ready. COVID legs. He ready to go out there and finish this marathon. It's CP3.
I like where you're going with that, but let's expand on it because legacy is going to matter, assuming the Suns win. Who's going to win the MVP?
Yeah.
Booker takes the first series. Dethroned LeBron James. He had 47 points, I believe, in the closeout game. Booker takes the first series against the Lakers. Booker outperformed CP3 in that one. Chris Paul takes the second series against the Nuggets. I'm going to give you that one. Booker takes the third series. One, Chris Paul didn't even show up for the first 2 games.
Well,
he wasn't there.
But
he wasn't there.
If Chris Paul didn't show up, they still be playing Game 9, Game 10 because Devin Booker wasn't trying to close nothing out by himself, was he?
That's fair.
That's fair.
But because Chris Paul didn't even score attendance, you got to give the third series to Devin Booker. But now I look at it like this. Devin Booker has the 3rd most points in NBA postseason history in their first postseason appearance.
Yeah, he moving
behind
up.
Rick Barry, behind Julius Erving. He's only 32 points behind being the first scorer of all time in their first postseason appearance. I think that will play a factor. But let me go nuanced, because that's what we do on this great show. 2014 NBA Finals MVP was Kawhi Leonard. Not because of what Kawhi Leonard did that was so great, but because he stopped LeBron James from doing. 2015.
Wow, wait a minute.
It was. Look at the numbers.
You call Kawhi a clout chaser?
Look at the numbers.
Like he only got his because of somebody else didn't get there?
Because of what he stopped somebody else. Same thing with Andre Iguodala. Y'all don't think that's the case. 2015. Iggy wasn't the best player on the court, but he stopped the best player on the court from being. So we can find value, not necessarily in your numbers, but we can find value in your perceived impact. The only reason Chris Paul had the game he had in Game 1 was because of Devin Booker. Devin Booker's presence made the Bucks say, look, you want to know who we have to stop? We got to stop Book, which allowed CP3 to eat. How do we know that's true? Because at the end of the game, what did head coach say? Bud's going out there and said, we got to put more pressure on CP3. We have to make him a bigger focal point, which means he was not always a focal point. That's why what we saw in Game 2, Jrue Holiday, full court press the entire time. Jrue Holiday picking up CP3 at least at the half-court mark because they were never paying attention to CP3. They were paying attention to Book in Game 1, which is why CP3 ate. So with that being said, even CP3 doing as magnificent as he did in Game 1 is a testament to as good as Devin Booker is. And then in Game 2, Devin Booker just showed how good he is. Either way, it all leads back to Book and his greatness.
Well, look, let's just be real about this. Devin Booker's the better player. We know that. He's the driving force. That doesn't mean that you're going to get all of the accolade that comes from being that driving force. Steph Curry comes to mind. Has he ever won a Finals MVP? Even when they won the Finals without what?
But let me push back.
Okay,
Let's get to the nuance, because it all comes back to Steph Curry and Kevin Durant.
Oh, God. I was trying to not say Kevin Durant, too. I said the one without KD.
I don't know if Devin Booker's a better player. He's a better scorer. You tracking with me?
No, I'm not tracking with you.
CP3,
I'm fielding with you.
CP3,
You trying to say that Devin Booker's not better than Chris Paul right now in the game of basketball? Forget who you know. I'm talking about what they show.
You might have to go CP3. But because
we can add that topic
CP3 showed up, CP3 showed up and made the Suns collectively better.
But they got better as well. That's the only thing that I don't like when people say that. You forget I got better too.
Sure.
Devin Booker got better.
Sure.
DeAndre Ayton didn't miss 25 games.
Of course.
Okay, so first of all, we're not standing here and Chris Paul added on. We're standing here and Chris Paul adds on, and then you give him all the credit for being at the top.
But don't you think that Chris Paul helped Ayton get better?
Absolutely.
Chris Paul helped Bridges get better. Chris Paul helped Booker get better.
Yes. But I think you're giving a little too much credit. Let's
to CP3?
The credit, we got to check the credit limit. You can't have the black card on this one. You got to have a limit on this one. How much credit you going to get them boys? Because Devin Booker was coming. DeAndre Ayton was coming. The team was coming.
But
they were certain.
Book had been there for 5 years.
Yeah.
For 5. He was coming. When was he going to show up?
Okay.
You know Chris Paul best. Well, the only reason that small interject is because Devin Booker's a better scorer. Kevin Durant's a better scorer. I think Chris Paul's a better player. I think Steph Curry's a better conduit. Yeah. So I think, to your point, Booker will get the Finals MVP because he's a better scorer.
No, to my point, Steph Curry didn't get it, even though he was the better player and the better scorer on the team. So he actually brings both our arguments together to prove my point, which is you don't always get it even if you're the best because of other circumstances, whether it's narrative or clutch moments, clutch shots. I always talk about how Chris Paul in game one, you say he was eaten because they were focused on Booker. Yeah, the X's and O's. You're a former player. We've been in those meetings. But when you get on that court, even though they focused on you, they make adjustments. They're like, Chris is eating. And then they can't stop those adjustments because, one, we don't want all of a sudden Devin Booker to eat. And two, Chris Paul's being the wedge buster. Chris Paul set the tone. I could have wrote this down. I actually said it, but I should have wrote this down before the series started. Chris Paul's going to go ham this series, and he's going to be first. He's going to be the first one to say, I got there. Devin Booker, game one, wasn't an efficient game. 27 points, that wasn't efficient for him in his shooting. But Chris Paul set the tone. And now, all of a sudden, Devin Booker, not trying to take a shot at the little homie, yo dog, but he didn't do it first, which tells me something about intention, tells me something about what desire is, and it also tells me what you made of. Chris Paul made of something different because he's more experienced.
Well, you're on to something, and I don't know if people saw it. I saw it because I'll be watching the small things in game one. Chris Paul looked like he was playing to win MVP.
He is!
Right? Like, Chris Paul...
Why not?
Chris Paul's not just playing to win the game.
No.
Chris Paul's playing like, I know when all this said and done, I got to make sure I get Finals MVP. I got to make sure I get Finals MVP because when they start talking about my legacy, I need to make sure they don't do me like they do Steph and say that Steph ain't get no Finals MVPs. The whole time, Chris Paul's playing with that intention. I think Book is just out there playing. I think Book was just out there trying to get his buckets.
Don't let the smooth taste fool you.
Well,
I hate when people say, I'm just chilling. No, you trying. You just ain't as good right now.
Sel, you know, as a vet, and I was, my freshman year in college, I wasn't worried about going to the national championship. I was a freshman. I think, I got 4 years left here, right? If I don't go my freshman year, we'll go again. Whereas the seniors on the squad and the redshirt seniors, they're scratching tooth and nail to get to the national championship because they know their days are numbered. And they also have the experience to realize, hey, nothing's guaranteed. Chris Paul is that redshirt senior, 36 years of age in the NBA. So he's sitting here like, yo, I got to get Finals MVP because we might not be back. Booker, I don't think, had the same Finals MVP sense of urgency because Booker's just like, yo, we here, my 6th year in the league. Surely I'm going to be back here again by game 2. Now I think Booker's awake. Now I think by game 2, Booker's like, hey, I want Finals MVP. What's going to be interesting to me is, are we going to start to see some tension when you see both of them trying to compete for this award privately that they would never say publicly?
Devin Booker shot 46 times in these 2 games. That's chilling. Hate to see him go hard. This mother sucker up here trying to get some. Look, they always talk about Kobe Bryant when they talk about Devin Booker because of their relationship. Respect to that. However, I think Chris Paul knew Kobe Bryant as well because Kobe famously once said, hey, I want to win, but I also want to be the reason we win. Hey, brother, let it out, Acho. Yeah, it's your show. Damn, if you can't cough at home, where you gonna cough at? That's how my wife, we go out sometimes. I was like, baby, it's okay, let it out. Excuse me, a little, no, too much. Okay, here's the thing. Kobe Bryant always wanted to be the reason. That's why him and Shaq, Shaq took 3 Finals MVPs. Kobe was a driving force, even though Shaq was the man. But the point is, Kobe was like, where my shine at? So when Kobe got with Pau Gasol, well, 1, Pau Gasol, you ain't Kobe, so you ain't gonna get to fight for this Finals MVP. But 2, he wanted it. There's nothing wrong with wanting it in your life. This is why you're super single, because you're too cool for school. Like me, when I was single, I wanted it. I was like, girl, you fine. We just met. I like you. We just met. How much it costs to go out and on vacation? Cash out. Whatever, I ain't talking to you no more. Anyway, let's get off of this subject right now because I'm telling too much of my sauce. Coming up are Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. See, I lived before cell phones. The NFL's LeBron and Jordan. We'll tell you if it's too early for that comparison. On this Friday show, I'm about to go ham. Where my full screen at? That's next. But first, Naomi Osaka penned an essay asking for better protection for athletes in the media. Oh, I gotta get serious. We have a lot more on this. That's next. Speak for yourself.
Use Cash App.
Yeah, that was Cash App. Getting recommendations from your friends for that perfect diet might be a big waste of time. The real answer is already within you, your genes. What are the best foods based on your DNA? What foods have the nutrients that you need? How quickly do you metabolize caffeine and alcohol? Don't guess. Use the code Speak for Yourself for $20 off a Geno Palette DNA kit. Find out how to eat for your genes.
Naomi Osaka pulled out of the French Open over a month ago and skipped to Wimbledon, citing her mental health and dealing with the media. Now, she penned an essay in Time Magazine's Olympic preview calling for athletes to have better protection when it comes to the media. Osaka said, quote, "The press conference format itself is outdated and in great need of a refresh." Marcellus, I love these topics with you. I feel like we do them best. What is your reaction to Naomi Osaka saying athletes need better protection by the media?
Oh, my reaction goes back to my experience. And in my experiences, dealing with some athletes who weren't naturals with the media, who weren't in favor of the media relationship that we had to have by obligation, in part with sport, it takes me to those places in the conversations, candidly, that we had. I won't say any names because I'm going to protect the guilty, but I will tell Naomi the same thing I told my boys back then, because I was a natural. Not because it was always in me. It's because I went to a small school. So I was more appreciative. I had a greater perspective of big business football. A lot of guys who go to big schools like you, they come into the NFL as rookies, they're tired. You guys already been through big business. You're like, someone asked you a question, so how'd you play today, Acho? Man, I'm like, what? How'd you play today, Marcellus? Oh, it was great. You should have seen on third down. I saw something that I triggered when I was studying. Like, I just went into that depth. Here we go, Naomi. At the core of your identity should never be sport. I'm going to tell you again, at the core of your identity, it should never be sport. Sport is what you do, not who you are. So if you already starting off with your core issues being that your identity is wrapped around sport, oh, you about to go through the jungle. Let's talk about that you're a tennis player. Okay, that's what everyone calls you. But you got to internalize that different. You're not a tennis player. You're a person that plays tennis. And it's time to start playing the game within the game the same way you play tennis. I noticed in this article that Naomi says that she likes to speak from the heart and be genuine. And she has not done any formal media training. I would ask Naomi, the great #1 tennis player in the world, would you ever try to play tennis without any formal training? No. So if you're going to try a sport to become #1 and great at it with formal training, you should do the same when you're talking about mental health issues and media relationships. Now, the core of this issue to me is simple. She didn't want to face the resistance that came with the territory of being #1. I give it to you like this. Before I get into my conjecture, let's just talk about the numbers. Naomi is #1 in the world. She won 4 Grand Slam titles, right? 86% win percentage on hard court. On the other surfaces, it drops down to 61%. Why is that important? Because her sister, after Naomi mentioned that she didn't want to speak to the media at the French Open, didn't really go into detail about the reasoning. But her sister did. Her sister said, well, basically, she didn't want to hear the criticism that came from playing in the French Open because that criticism made her compromise her mental health space. Now, what is mental health space to Naomi, it sounds like? Sounds like I want to hear the good stuff about me being #1 and don't want to hear the criticism because I just want to go out there and perform. That's not how it goes. You can't walk through the jungle of professional sports and just want to pet the nice lions. There are lions everywhere. You have to pick your spots and be able to internalize it properly. So my conversation with her, just starting on lap 1, is learn discernment. Basically, know the good from the bad and don't take every shot personally. Sounds like she is, and I think that's taken her to a negative place in terms of her mental health space.
Oh, you said a lot. We're going to go a lot of places. Y'all buckle up. Y'all get ready. Get right with us. My first thing I have to say is I disagree with the take of Naomi Osaka saying in most professions you can get a day off without suspension. So if I want to take a day off from doing the media, how come you all will punish me for so? I caution all athletes to hide behind comparing their professions to other professions when it fits that mold. In most professions, Marcellus Wiley, I am not allowed to hit another object at you. And you surely are not allowed to hit an object at me in return. But in the profession of tennis, you get paid millions of dollars to do so.
I hear you.
In most professions, you are not supposed to run into a building that is on fire. You should probably run out of it. But as a firefighter, that is your occupation. So you cannot compare your profession to any other profession or the job description, particularly you athletes. Now, where is Naomi Osaka correct? She is correct. The athletes do need better protection in the media because we have normalized an abnormal life.
Let's hear it.
So just because you are number one in the world does not mean you should be normalized to the criticisms or certain criticism that you're not necessarily mentally prepared for. You are a famous individual. I am a famous individual. If I scroll on my Twitter right now, who made you the spokesperson for Black America since you're ignorant about it? Next mention, clown, clown, clown emoji. Next mention, you're over here talking about things you have no knowledge about, trying to appeal white America. Next mention, narcissist much. Just because I'm famous doesn't mean I should be used to dealing with certain things. We have normalized the abnormal. Why in society do me, who's so much lesser than Naomi Osaka, just pick up my phone and now you're dealing with that? Naomi Osaka, she's a professional tennis player, but she's not necessarily a professional therapist. She's a professional tennis player, but she's not a professional psychologist. And yet, we're making her have to deal with being professional in so many other regards that she is not necessarily adequately prepped for. The reason this issue, and I do think she needs more protection, is because I've just been thinking about me. I don't know what your life and your mentions look like, but I'm like, yo, I pale in comparison to the great Naomi. And I know what I have to deal with, and I just showed y'all one quick scroll at the top of my mentions. Imagine the stuff Naomi has to deal with, both in private media and public media. I do think athletes need more protection.
Oh, we're going to do that one already, because I think that's in the rundown to do the protection with Slick Rick the Bucher, but we could get a little of this in, because it's our show, and then we could get into that as well later. Here's the thing. Athletes don't need any protection. Athletes need selection, not protection, selection. Know what matters and what doesn't. There's an old saying that it doesn't matter what they call you, it's what you pay attention to.
Hey.
You know, whenever someone, you just read me your mentions in Twitter, I assume.
Yes, sir.
Because it's negative.
Instagram, they nice to me. They love me on IG.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
They love me there.
They got apple pies on IG. yeah, they throwing them hands on Twitter. Okay, but here's the thing. Before you even get to that negative mention or mentions, you had to log on.
Of course.
Now, when you log on, when you select something in this world, know what comes with it. If you walk into the jungle, them roars ain't hellos. They say, what you want? Now, here's the thing when you're a professional athlete, you're 0.00001% of the people that have ever walked this planet.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it comes with responsibilities as well. It comes with some expectations. Here's the thing about it. We're all survivalists, so we must protect ourselves at all costs. Now, if you have to protect yourself, when you're playing tennis, you know how you protect yourself? You prepare yourself. Naomi already said she doesn't even prepare herself for these media conversations and the scrutiny. How can I care more than you care? How can I be so concerned that you're not concerned enough to get yourself formally trained to deal with these same issues? I am not going to be that person. I'm also not going to be the person that looks at you and says, okay, you don't want to do those media relationship interviews because you just don't want to. Oh, that's fine. And you're an introvert. I respect that. I'm an introvert. Even though I'm loud, I actually like my boys mad at me from last night. I ain't go out because I'm an introvert. I got my wife, my kids. I'm chilling at the crib. Have we hung out yet? No, Acho, because I'm an introvert. But she's an introvert, but she protests and wears masks to bring attention to causes. Interesting for an introvert to do. Do you? She's an introvert who doesn't want to do media relations, but also does an interview in Time magazine, which is one of the major media outlets, especially in print, that's going to get her more attention. To go back to where? Now, I understand she says that she didn't do this to cause riot, to cause protests. Did you or did you not? Because no one else followed suit with you, no other dominoes fell with you, doesn't mean you didn't try to be disruptive without a destination. So I'm looking at this situation as simple as this. Naomi came to school sick. But we ain't shutting down the school. We're going to take care of you. Naomi, what are your issues? And you're a professional athlete. We talk about this all the time. Biggest, fastest, strongest doesn't get into a line and say you're a professional athlete. Mental attributes come into it as well. We always recognize and reward the physical, capable athletes. That's also the mentally capable athletes as well. Intangibles, the things we can't measure. Why Tom Brady continues to be Tom Brady the Great? It's not just relying on his physical talents. There's a mentality, there's a mental resolve that he possesses that most people don't possess. So in a world where I had teammates who had physical struggles, one, if you are disabled, or you debilitated physically, you're compromising pro sports if you are in a professional sport in the beginning. Think about it. If you got physical issues, how are you going to play? Okay, here's the same thing. If we're going to respect physical and mental health the same, we're going to have to treat them the same and take the stigma away. Let's do that. Mental compromise issues are going to have to be respected the same and talked about in the same regard as physical. Kevin Durant comes to mind. Couldn't bench press 185 pounds. How dare him? How dare him? Still got drafted, number 2. But still, they came at him because he wasn't physically there. If you really want respect for mental health issues, you're going to have to also take the criticism as well. This is a situation where I think that it's trying to be used as cover instead of as something we need to discover and reveal.
But here's my thing, and here's why I think these athletes need better protection. So at least Naomi Osaka, my reaction is because you can't mandate exhaustion unless you can calculate relief.
Mandate exhaustion. What is it, exhaustion?
In sports, we used to have 2 days. And we had 2 days because we understood if you work out with pads and practice in the morning and you work out with pads and practice in the evening, we also understand you need a rest. Yeah. You need to eat, you need your protein shakes, you need your sleep. We know how to calculate relief, thus we can mandate the exhaustion. We can mandate the taxation because we can calculate the relief. But we don't know how to calculate the relief mentally, the strenuous taxation that these athletes are going through by having to deal with the media. So if we can't calculate the taxation and if we can't calculate the relief, then how can we mandate the exhaustion? Because what we know is this. Naomi Osaka is mentally exhausted, as I would assume so many other athletes are, by having to deal with the media.
How and why?
The why
I don't even understand it.
The why to me is this.
Yeah, why?
When anybody in the public is grieving, they usually say, thank you so much for your thoughts. Thank you so much for your condolences.
And they do it in public. And then they say, I need privacy. That's so oxymoron.
Sure.
But what do you mean, sure? That's the point.
But nonetheless, they go out and they say, thanks so much for your thoughts, your prayers, etc. Please respect our privacy in this time.
Well, go away and we will.
And what do we all do?
Don't log on and you will not know what I'm saying.
But we all respect their privacy in that time.
No, we don't all.
At least we respect the fact that they said that.
Okay, yeah.
Why?
You respect
because
they said it.
We understand that if somebody is grieving, they say respect our privacy in this time, because the last thing somebody grieving wants to go through is be asked about the grief. Okay. But what is the first thing we do when athletes are grieving huge losses? You lose Wimbledon, Cam Newton, you lose at the Super Bowl. Yeah. We poke and we prod them in regards to the grief. Yeah. But we understand in society, you're grieving, let's not talk about the grief until you're ready. However, in sports, you're grieving, hey, why'd you lose? Hey, what went wrong with the loss? Hey, how you feeling after the loss? Yeah. We know in society when somebody's grieving, take a step back. But in sports, when somebody's grieving, we take a step in. Yeah. It is counterintuitive.
Well, it's because we're not asking you about you. We're asking you about your performance that has an impact on you. You're going to take us as far as you can, as far as you desire. Just like the person who goes on a public platform to say, I want to be private. We're going to respect it as far as you take us. But you already have shown contradiction in your own actions, but you want us to respect your words fully.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Because you don't, first of all, I've lost my mother, I've lost family members. I don't run to public platforms and say, leave me alone. I just leave y'all alone. And then I don't know, you're swinging in the air. So you invite the criticism. One, when you're a professional athlete, it's an open invitation to criticism, but it's also an open invitation to praise. This to me doesn't sound like that. This to me sounds like what they always say, that people want rewards before the rigors. You know, people want to go to the parade, don't want to build the floats. So here's the problem. Rewards only come before rigor in the dictionary, brother. You got hell to pay to get this money because she understands this. She's #1 ranked. She made the most money of all women in sports, right? Dough is soft, but it doesn't come fluffy. You know what that means? It kicks. To be the best at anything, Steve Ballmer, whoever you want to talk about, top of any profession, Jeff Bezos, wherever you want to go, do you want to know the hell they got to pay? And then, if you really want to calculate it properly, is it really hell? Because look at how you can easily compartmentalize that and put it in its proper place. This is why I tell my kids, it ain't about what's coming at you, because life gonna knock you down. It's about how you use your efforts and focus to get yourself up. In this world, you gotta hit the curveballs, brother, in life. You wanna hit home runs, you gotta hit curveballs. Fastballs are easy. Most people can hit fastballs. That's why in the pyramid of success, most people at the bottom. because they can hit fastballs. But you know how you ascend? You know how you stay up there? Learn to hit them curveballs. Learn that when someone says something negative to you, you don't have to take it as a negative. Acho, we get on here all the time. I don't know what jokes actually pierce through, seriously, but I hope none of them do. Because guess what? None of yours do. I understand where to put it. I've been told good, bad, and ugly about myself my entire life. I'm assuming Naomi as well. Why do you want to carry the bucket of criticism heavier than you do of the one of praise?
The reason I think is we're asking athletes to pay too many different currencies, Sales. You talk about the hell they're going to have to pay, right?
I'm listening.
When we asked you to be the best tennis player in the world, we said be the best tennis player in the world. That is a currency of tennis, athleticism, and the mental fortitude that goes into you being on the court while you're on the court. But we're also asking Naomi Osaka and other athletes to pay the currency of dealing with criticism, dealing with hate, dealing with disparaging comments. That's not a currency that they are prepped to be ready for.
Get prepped.
Now,
I hear you.
in college, if you're going to say get prepped, then I don't mind. I can co-sign that,
Yeah.
But then we have to put that responsibility on so many others as well. Because if we switch from tennis now to the NFL, to the NBA, et cetera, you and I weren't prepped, at least I wasn't prepped at the University of Texas to deal with criticism from the media. We didn't have mental training. We weren't dealing with therapists and counselors. We had practice every day for 2 hours. We had weights every day in the morning for 2 hours. We had study hall for class every day mandated for 2 hours. We had film mandated for an hour. But nowhere in there did we have a mandation of mental training. Nowhere in there did we have a mandation of seeing a counselor or seeing a therapist. So if we are going to mandate these 23-year-old athletes like Naomi Osaka to be prepped, then I think it's on society to do the prepping. It's at least on the responsible adults at universities. If we're going to switch from tennis, because I don't know the upbringings of tennis because I didn't play the sport, but it's at least upon then the coaches, the counselors, the athletic directors, et cetera, to do the prepping. We can't just put it on the athletes. We don't put it on the athletes to be strong. We put it on the strength coaches. We got $500,000 to $1 million strength coaches to make sure the athletes are strong. But now we put it exclusively on the athlete to be mentally tough. There's a rift there.
I don't think there is a rift. I respect what you're saying. I didn't experience it the way you did. I did have sports psychologists. We did have time management courses. We did have media training informally, more so of just like, you don't have to answer every question. And if you do, you answer it the way you want to answer it. It was just a simple like whatever they say, it doesn't matter. Make it come out the way you want it to come out. But let's talk about some of the things you just said there, because you said, in the contract, we wanted her to just be the #1 tennis player. Actually, she wanted to be #1 tennis player. This world don't give a damn who she is until she becomes who she is. No one said, hey, Naomi, you got to be #1. The world doesn't. She does. She chose that. She volunteered for that. So if you volunteer for that, know what you're volunteering for. There's a fine print to that contract. It ain't just going to be all flowers. It ain't going to be all just #1 and limo rides. It's going to be some hell and some bumpy roads as well. So in a world, seriously, where failure is natural. People don't understand this. The world is built where failure is the natural course. Don't do anything. You don't believe me? Don't do a damn thing. Just live in your natural state. You will fail in everything. To build yourself up is unnatural. To be successful is to be unnatural. Be #1 in the world at anything is unnatural. That comes with some course correction. At least it comes with actually training yourself for those rigors. When you come on record and say you're not even training yourself, then I know that you're really not doing yourself the best service. So as I look at this, here's my last point. This was interesting. I don't even think it fits in conveniently, but I just got to bring this up. Because you brought up how people say respect my privacy. I noticed this as well. You said counterintuitive. Tell me about this, Acho. She didn't want to thank her family and friends by name because there was too many of them. But then she named every celebrity that supported her. Didn't want to thank your family and friends, okay. And then got political in it, but don't want attention, which because that attention brings the mental anxiety that she's trying to run from. To me, man, I think there's some circular logic going on, and you need to untangle all that to get to the real issue. Coming up, Giannis, we got this topic again, too. Got his last night, but did he not have help? Nope. We'll tell you if he still silenced his critics. That's next on Speak For Yourself. And we got another one. Tomorrow, one of the biggest Copa finals in history is on FS1. That's right, defending champion Brazil squares off with Messi in Argentina. Woo, Messi all that money, loan me $1. It's a huge showdown for the Copa America. Coverage begins tomorrow, 7 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Speaking of Open Final, tomorrow's showdown is featured on the free-to-play Fox Bet Super 6 app. Scan the QR code below, download the app, and answer 6 questions about the game for your shot to win $1,000. Now let's get back to the finals where Giannis went off in his second game back from his knee injury with a game-high 42 points, but he did not get a lot of help. And his Bucks are now down 0-2 in the series. Giannis is a 2-time MVP, but this is his first trip to the finals. Got to bring in Fox NBA analyst Slick Rick the Bucher, but Acho, has Giannis silenced his critics?
Absolutely. And if he hasn't silenced them, y'all talk too much. Because Giannis, he gave you a 30-point half. Last time we saw a 30-point half in the NBA Finals, I believe it was Allen Iverson when he was stepping over Ty Lue.
Don't do that.
Giannis, out here, he gave us 42. He gave us 42 and 12 people. What else do you want from the man in the finals, in his first NBA's finals appearance? Giannis in a season post-history, 10 times, single-season post-history, 10 post-season history. 10 times has he given you 30 points, 10 boards, and that is right up there with Shaq, Hakeem, Kareem, Elgin Baylor, and then you see Giannis Antetokounmpo. If you still are doubting Giannis and his excellence, then you just are a doubtful individual because he has silenced his critics, and you really can't ask for much more than what he gave last night.
No, he has not silenced his critics, Acho. And I think Marcellus is probably going to back me up on this because he's going to be one of those critics who has not been silenced. But that said, you trotted out the numbers. You didn't trot out the most important one, which is wins and losses. Until Giannis wins a title, the numbers are meaningless. All the guys that you pointed out have those numbers, but they also had those numbers in winning. Now, what Giannis did do in Game 2, while he did not silence his critics, he did provide ammunition for his advocates. And I am one of those because I saw in Giannis in Game 2 some things that I've been waiting to see. And while I don't know that he's going to win a championship this year, what he showed me is that he has the capability of winning a championship, and I wasn't always certain of that. 11 for 18 free throws. Those are the most free throws that he's made and the most free throws that he's attempted in a playoff game this year. I don't know that there's a stat-keeping record for number of mid-range jumpers, but he made 5 of 7, and I dare say that's a personal record for him in all of the playoffs and maybe his entire career. What I saw was a Giannis Antetokounmpo who took control of the situation, who basically took his team by the scruff of the neck and said, I am going to try to get us there. Marcellus asked a very good question after Game 1 about, is it that Giannis doesn't have enough around him, or is it because Giannis isn't enough? In Game 2, and it's a fair question, and it was a fair question after Game 1, but after Game 2, Giannis demonstrated he has enough. He is enough. He may not have enough around him and certainly did not have enough around him in Game 2. That was the reason for the result that we saw.
Yeah, man. I'm with you, Slick Rick here. Sorry, Acho. I know you tried to box me in by calling me a doubtful individual, but I
didn't know your take at the time.
Yeah, you already knew what I was coming with. Yeah, I'm still doubting this dude like everyone else is because there were 2 questions at play right here, and he hasn't answered both of them correctly. One, can he play individually great at the biggest level in the biggest games as Giannis, the 2-time MVP, can? Yes, he answered that one. What about the other one? Can he be a driving force towards a championship? Towards it? Yeah, but actually achieving it? Looks like no, because as you fly high, you see other greats who couldn't answer both questions correctly. Charles Barkley, who takes ridicule all the time because he never won a championship. And this is Charles Barkley. Karl Malone as well. We don't hear it as much because he's not on television, but he hears this as much. And they're both better than Giannis, and they still have to hear criticism and ridicule. Because when people fly over and look at the greats, hey, this is Wiley Airlines Flight 187, looking for the greats out there, looking down, oh, there's Giannis, okay, single down right there, 10,000 feet. You see him, and he's like, I'm here, individually. And then we look around him, and we see what they've accomplished. Abort mission. Because they have not conquered it just yet. 6-5 in his career record in playoff series. 6-5. 32-28 career playoff record. 32-28. These are hovering around 500 numbers. 10-7 this postseason when this was the best version of Giannis we've ever seen. So it's just not adding up. I am not doubting Giannis, as I didn't doubt Charles Barkley or Karl Malone, but I know how it goes when they fly over. They ain't looking for all those details. They saying, did you do it or did you not? And right now, it's going to land squarely on Giannis.
Here's the thing, though, fellas. Here is the thing. Y'all remember, at least I remember, in the church growing up, they would say, don't judge someone for sinning differently than you.
Ooh.
And I got to say, don't judge Giannis for scoring different than you like. Giannis gave you 42. And he gave you 12 boards on 15 of 22 shooting.
That's banging.
That's efficient.
That's good.
And that is effective.
Yep.
If someone else, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Chris Middleton, Kevin Durant would have done that, we would have been like, wow, 42 points, 15 of 22 shooting. But Giannis does it, and we're like, nah, it's not enough. Don't judge someone who sins different than you, and don't judge Giannis because he scores different than you like. Because at the end of the day, Giannis is scoring. The Bucks were +3 with Giannis on the court, -13 without Giannis on the court. He was only off the court for 8 minutes. -13 in those 8 minutes. That correlates to the Bucks losing by 78 points over the course of a 48-minute ball game. Please stop judging Giannis because he scores differently than you like. Last example I'll bring up, it was 93-88. Suns, fourth quarter. 8 minutes, 39 seconds left in the game. Giannis just had to go to the sideline to fix his shoe, America.
My shoe?
He had to take off his shoe. And the time it took Giannis to take his shoe off, put his shoe back on, and check into the game 50 seconds later, the Suns went on a 5-0 run. That is the impact that Giannis has. Take a shoe off and put it on, and the game goes from being a 5-point game to a 10-point game, and coach got to call the timeout. Giannis is doing enough. It's everybody else that's falling short.
No question. I'm not disputing that, Acho. I'm not disputing that he didn't get enough help from the Bucks. I'm not disputing the impact that he has. But the great flaw in your argument just now was suggesting that he is judged different than Devin Booker and Chris Paul, and how unfair that might be. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a 2-time league MVP. He is a defensive player of the year. He's a guy who won MVP and defensive player in the same year. Yes, I am going to judge him differently because no, I've never seen Devin Booker or Chris Paul even be in serious conversation for either one of those awards. And I've never looked at either one of them and said, when is he going to win a championship? Because he's achieved just about everything else. When is he going to make good on that league MVP? I haven't asked that question. I have, and deservedly asked that question about Giannis Antetokounmpo because of what he has accomplished. So, yes, it is fair to ask for more than what we saw. I loved what I saw, especially the intangible. The thing that we never saw from Charles Barkley, we never saw from Karl Malone, and that was him demanding from his teammates in a huddle. And there's guys that would do that for the camera. Giannis doesn't have a contrived bone in his body. That was not for the camera. That was, I need to find a way to lead this team, and I've earned the right to do it. I loved seeing that. They're not going to get that from anybody else with these Milwaukee Bucks. I never saw Charles do that. I never saw Karl do that. It's why I have hope that Giannis, at some point, is going to win a championship. But my expectation that he wins a championship, that is not out of line based on what he's accomplished.
Man, y'all breaking it down, and let's keep breaking it down. It's a fair question out there right now because I know it's been posed to me. Are they better without Giannis at times? Because certainly everyone else...
No, come on.
Hey, I didn't say it was a smart question.
You can't go
I said it's a
no.
fair question. I don't think that they are. But everyone else activates. See, this is the problem. People always think if you take Giannis away, there's just going to be this huge crater of void. But the other players will feel that with something. Now, we've seen them feel it. Drew Holiday was better, right? We see it. Chris Middleton steps up. I'm not saying they are better. I'm just telling you, when he's not there, somehow, some way, others activate. Now, the genius occurs when he is present and they still are activated, which may lend itself to some of the leadership issues or maybe just philosophy issues where they can't play optimal basketball. I digress. But let's talk about Giannis because we do judge him correctly. And I love my boy Acho cooking these books over here because Giannis in this series right now has a +4 ±, which is, all right, whatever. It's pretty good. They lost 2 games and you got a +4. That's all right.
No, that's good.
But you got a -7 in the first half and then a +11 in the second half. So you're starting off slow. Now, a team that needs their leader to come out there, I understand compromise with the knee injury, but let's get this thing started a little quicker if we must. But you know what? It doesn't matter how he starts, how he finishes. Shooting 19% in these playoffs and 55% from the free throw line is not helping your cause in terms of winning a championship when you look at Giannis. Giannis reminds me of, I know we all got this family member, and don't y'all lie because y'all on TV, who graduated from, barely got into JUCO and barely graduated, right? So we all gonna celebrate. We all going to Sizzlers. We gonna do that damn thing. But don't lie, when he go to the bathroom, we like, I don't know how this gonna end up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like he graduated, but Giannis is great, but like, what the hell is gonna come from all this greatness is the conversation I'm having, the same one I had at Sizzlers about my cousin. No, I ain't gonna say his name on TV. Coming up, is it too early to compare Patrick Mahomes to Tom Brady? Interesting. We'll answer that next on Speak for Yourself. Steak and all you can eat.
Sure.
The Bucks beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl a few months ago, but that will not stop comparisons between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Chiefs quarterback was recently asked if he and Brady are becoming the NFL's equivalent to LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Whoa. He responded, quote, "It's still early for the LeBron, Michael Jordan stuff, but for me, if you're in this league, then you're trying to win." So, Acho, is it too early for Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady comparisons?
Not at all. It's just on time.
Right on time.
Right on time. If we can't compare you all now, when do you want us to compare you? When Tom Brady is retired? See, what Mahomes has to realize, and I think what we have realized, is we never got to see Jordan and LeBron play at the same time. No. So instead, we got to make up these fictitious conversations. Imagine if LeBron would have been on the Heat. Would they have won 8 straight and LeBron never would have retired? Imagine if Jordan would have been on the Heat. Imagine if LeBron would have been on the Bulls, rather, and Jordan would have been on the Heat. We have to do all these fake narrative comparisons. When with Mahomes and Brady, we've seen them match up against each other, and we looking like, dang, Mahomes, you got knocked out the playoffs twice by Brady. But wait, Mahomes, you got an NFL MVP and a Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP. Before Tom Brady ever had his NFL MVP regular season. Of course, the comparisons have to come now because we're looking at maybe the most talented of all time versus the best or the greatest of all time in Tom Brady. Mahomes is in a league of his own, particularly at his age. In the first 4 seasons, 4 quarterbacks have been to multiple Super Bowls. Kurt Warner, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Well, Russ is out the conversation because Russ was not the guy that led his team to the Super Bowl. He was just a part of that. So, of course, we're going to compare the two in Mahomes and in Brady. And more than anything, for Mahomes, it's a compliment. You're being compared to the greatest of all time.
Man, say it, like you said, right on time. I love a comparison. It ain't the thief of joy. I know that's the saying we always run with, but it ain't stealing nothing from me. I bring up a name that's going to tug at your heartstrings right now. I know because we are both in Olympic mode. And no, we ain't boycotting, damn it. No, we ain't boycotting. Arian Knighton. Ooh, know that? Look at your face. See? 17 years young, right? Broke Usain Bolt's 200-meter world record for kids under 18. Think we ain't comparing him to Usain Bolt right now? Now, if he finishes the deal and finishes out the comparison, that's on him. What's on me is to say, wait a minute, at the same age, this dude was this. So let's talk about Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes at their 4 seasons. Do you know that Patrick Mahomes had a better win percentage? Yes, he does. Completion percentage? Yes, he does. Passing yards per game? More touchdowns? Fewer interceptions. So many people say less, it's fewer. And a better passer rating than Tom Brady, the terrific. I was there when Tom started. We saw it. We didn't see it coming. We saw it. It was like, damn, New England wins again. New England wins again. Tom Brady's getting better. Tom Brady's getting better. But Patrick Mahomes, you saw it and you saw it coming. So they're different. Because in their first 4 years, Mahomes has reached 3 AFC title games and 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 victory. Brady made the playoffs in 2 of his 3 starting seasons, but here's the kicker. Tom Brady said like Jordan, when I get there, we gonna do the damn thing. And he won both of his appearances. That's the only slight on you right now, Patrick Mahomes, but no slight to anyone who compares the two. Got to bring in Fox NFL analyst Bucky Brooks. So, Bucky, is it too early for Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady comparisons?
But before I can even answer the thing, I want y'all to know my phone has been blowing up nonstop with these doggone jokes. These jokes that you put on Instagram and Twitter. I got my mom and them talking about me. I got my kids embarrassed. I got my family members. Everyone's like, hey, man, you can't let them fire off on you like that without getting back. So just know at some point I'm coming. But I'm going to say this when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Man, it's too soon to make these comparisons. I don't know why you guys are on the barnyard trying to have the great play with the GOATs. I don't understand why we're doing this. Patrick Mahomes has 1 title. 1 title. I don't even know if Patrick Mahomes is in the same category as Eli Manning, because Eli Manning has 2. Ooh. So before we can compare Patrick Mahomes to Tom Brady, he has to get more rings. He has to be in close enough range for us to have that conversation. Look, whoever wins the NBA Finals, whether it's Giannis, whether it's Chris Paul, we're not going to have the comparison, hey, are they the next Jordan? Hey, are they the next LeBron or Kobe? No, because you got multiples before you can get in that conversation. So, no, we will not have a discussion about Patrick Mahomes being in the same class as Tom Brady until Patrick Mahomes put another ring on their finger.
But, Bucky, here's what you got to consider, man. We're comparing greats of a generation. Tom Brady, in all honesty, is really the last generation. Although he's still playing in this generation, he's just surpassed everybody. But I look at Tom Brady of the last generation of great quarterbacks, the early 2000s, even into the 2010s. Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of this generation. Statistically speaking, Aaron Rodgers, he only went to 1 Super Bowl. Drew Brees, he only went to 1 Super Bowl. Russell Wilson, he went to 2 Super Bowls, but he was carried to 1. So those are the quarterbacks of this generation. You could throw in Peyton Manning as well, depending on what generation you see him as. But Patrick Mahomes has already matched or eclipsed Peyton Manning in Indianapolis, going to 2 Super Bowls and winning 1. So we're really trying to compare last generation's greatest to this generation's greatest. Like we compare Jordan, last generation's greatest, to LeBron, this generation's greatest. I'm with you, Bucky, in that Patrick Mahomes hasn't nearly accomplished what Tom Brady has accomplished. However, he's still the generation's greatest, or at least in the argument to being the generation's greatest. So it's really just a comparison of generations. We were comparing LeBron to Jordan before LeBron ever got to his 3rd or his 4th ring. So now that he's gotten to his 4th, we just waiting, is he going to get to 6? But the comparison's got to exist, because otherwise we wait till it's dead and gone, and now we try to bring it up.
Yeah, we got to just wait till it's dead and gone. I mean, we're trying to compare Patrick Mahomes to a guy who has played 20 years in the league. I mean, 2 decades. It's unheard of to have someone play that long. And yes, along the way, Tom Brady has picked up 7 Super Bowl titles, may pick up another 8. I mean, to think that we're going to put Patrick Mahomes in that same discussion, to me, is kind of crazy. Can we at least have the discussion with Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, which one is the best? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the reigning MVP. Patrick Mahomes won it a couple years ago. Can we talk about which one of those guys is the best? Because, look, Tom Brady's on a completely another level of different stratosphere than those other guys. I think Patrick Mahomes has to knock off some of these other contenders before he can get to the throne and even talk about kissing the ring when it comes to Tom Brady.
Oh, come on, Bucky. We ain't talking in totality, man. You talking all crazy over there in the Hawaiian streets where you are on vacation right now. Come on, man. Don't forget your track background. Don't forget about these LA Jets. Every time we go out there on a Saturday and Sunday and the weekend and watch little 8-year-olds with their ashy butts run around in circles, and we always say, oh, that little kid right there remind me of Obi Moore. Oh, that kid right there, man, he could be something special if he stick with it. We comparing these kids right now over nachos, and we out there watching the Jets. Now we can't do it at the professional level? Boy, stop. I compare my kids all day. My son can destroy the monkey bars. Compared to all other 5-year-olds, he can hit the whole length. My 2-year-old could do about 1/3 of it, and nobody else can do it. So I'm sitting there comparing like, oh, I got me a little something here. Nothing wrong with it. Just a little healthy spirit there. But here's the thing, man. We're not comparing everything of Tom Brady to the little of Patrick Mahomes because he's only after 4 seasons. But at the same damn time, 4 years to 4 years, oh, it's a healthy, fun comparison. Think about when you were watching Boys in the Hood and you finished that movie, because that's how it went. And that was my favorite movie at the time, in part because I knew and recognized and dealt with so much of it. So I was like, that's my favorite movie. And then Menace came out. Remember Menace came out? And then I swear, after the first scene, I was like, what you say about my mom? I said, oh, Boy in the Hood better watch out, because they off to a fast start up in this Menace. Now, I don't know which one ended up being the better of the two. Boy in the Hood. Y'all can tweet me that. But the point is, ain't nothing wrong in the middle of the movie sitting there like, this might be it. Let's watch it all flow through. Coming up, we'll tell you if we're more impressed with the Suns in their win last night or disappointed in the Bucks. Acho, you ready for this? That's next. Oh, speak for yourself. The Suns took care of business at home last night and are now up 2-0 in the NBA Finals. Three Suns players scored over 20 points to lead the way. On the other side, Giannis had a game-high 42 points, but Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton were disappointing 12 for 37 combined from the field. Yuck. Slick Rick is back, but Acho, were you more impressed with the Suns or disappointed in the
Man, I'm out here being carried like Middleton myself, man. My voice gone.
Man, sorry.
I'm incredibly disappointed with the Bucks because if Giannis gives you 42 points and the opponent, best player, does not give you 40 or 50 points, that's got to be a dub. Period. Especially on the road. It's got to be a dub. If Giannis goes 15 of 22, if Giannis makes 11 free throws, it's got to be a dub. You can't lose that game. That just can't happen.
Facts.
But Drew Holiday shooting less than 42% from the field, less than 30% from three, less than 70% from the free throw line, playing over 35 minutes in the game. Historical lows since 2000, along with Metta World Peace and Lance Stevenson. Drew Holiday, they brought you here to be the fixing piece. It was like, okay, Eric Bledsoe, you gone. Drew Holiday, you're going to get us over the hill. And you the one keeping them below the hill. Drew Holiday is as bad on offense as he is good on defense. And he was all defensive first team. Middleton, 5 for 16. You can't miss more shots than Giannis misses, and Giannis takes 6 more shots than you. It cannot happen. Not in the NBA Finals, y'all. Like, the best players got to play the best in the biggest and the brightest moments. Giannis is playing his best. On the flip side, CP3 and Book, they are playing their best. Middleton and Holiday have to step up. The Suns didn't do anything overly impressive. Booker didn't drop 50. Chris Paul didn't drop 40. Jay Crowder didn't score 21, going 7 for 7 from the three-point line. Suns did not wow you. DeAndre Ayton didn't even play well. He played like Ayton, not like Eaton. So with all that being said, I'm disappointed in the Bucks because that game was for the taking.
I'm disappointed in the Bucks as well for a slightly different reason. Number one, can I just get a complete effort from the Milwaukee Bucks now that we're in the NBA Finals? Because we haven't seen that, and we've seen it in variations where they fell short. Can I get a full screen, please, on exactly how and where they fell short? Because it's been different from game 1 to game 2. Game 1, they could not defend without fouling, putting the Phoenix Suns on the free throw line far more than anybody else has on average in these playoffs. In game 2, it was, we're not going to defend the three-point line. We're going to allow them to make 20 out of 40 for 50%. That's 8 more threes per average playoff game than the Suns are used to making and well above what they're used to shooting. Those are effort areas. And I'm not only disappointed, I'm shocked because of what I heard from Mike Budenholzer, who told his team in the locker room, have fun, play fast, play random. What? No wonder we've got problems. How about let's play with precision? Let's box out and close out, because those are the difference makers in an NBA Finals game. Giannis Antetokounmpo gave you all the offense you needed. So I'm not worried about Drew Holiday going 7 for 21 or Chris Middleton only scoring 11 points. What I'm concerned is that Mikal Bridges had a career playoff 27 points against Chris Middleton. That's my problem. And PJ Tucker, who can't guard anybody in this series, is still playing 35 minutes a game. So For that reason, I'm not taking anything away from what the Suns have done. I just don't know if they can play better than they have, and it's disappointing that the Bucks have not come close to playing anywhere close to their potential through 2 games now.
Man, I'm on the other side of you guys. I'm impressed by the Suns because I'm not bored with success. I think you guys are getting a little bored with this success, and now you want to sit there and say, oh, the other team needs to do better. How about the other team, the Phoenix Suns, is just handling their business? New England Patriots style, Alabama football style. And people get bored with it. We all know. We always want to get creative when we think we master something. You ever go out there and play some tennis with your boys? None of us are 5.0 tennis players. I think I could wax all y'all, but let me just say me, I'm a 4.0. But I do know this. Just keep the ball in play. Just rally, dog. Just rally. You know what I'm saying? That's how you win. But we get creative. What do? Got it over? Got over? Oh, hell no. Hey, that's when you get mic'd up like Coach Budenholzer starts saying, play erratic, play styles, whatever. Who was worse mic'd up? Sam Darnold or Budenholzer? Because goodness, that's some dumbness to say right there. Let me get into my take because, Acho, man, you said there was nothing that was done that wowed you by the Phoenix Suns. Well, you just mentioned, Slick Rick, Mikal Bridges having a playoff career high is a wow moment. Let's talk about the fact that the Phoenix Suns hit 20 3-pointers in Game 2, which is a postseason high. Sounds like a wow moment to me. How about the fact that they were averaging just 108 points a game coming into the finals, and now they're up to 118? Sounds like a wow moment to me. But you know me. To bring home a wow, I got to bring on a full screen and tell me if this ain't a wow. Go, Chris Paul. He made for this, bruh. Look at these points responsible for per game in the NBA Finals in the last 2 decades. This is actually Acho's favorite stat. He always talks about this, what the hockey assist, and how you're just contributing to the entire complexity of the game. Well, look at Chris Paul in his first finals ever. Wow. Jimmy Butler right there, Kevin Durant right there, Steph Curry on the shot, boy, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, and LeBron James got that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times on that thing. Wow, 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 wow. So all that in totality, man, don't be bored with success. Don't be mad that they just getting the ball back over, but they getting it over. We're in a place where you can't return fire. That's on the Bucks, but right now, feels like the Suns figured them out.
Sal, if we were seeing fire being fought with fire, then maybe I would be impressed by the Suns. But the Suns are out there shooting fire, and the Bucks have no response. Drew Holiday, 7 for 21. Chris Middleton, 5 for 16. But more importantly, Sal, when I think about your Clippers, they put up a fight. Remember against the Suns, first 5 games, had 4 different starting lineups. Ty Lue was like, hey, I'm going to try whatever works. And he figured things out. He stole 2 of the first 4 games. But he out there just rolling out the same lineup that worked against the Nets in hopes that it might work against these Suns, as if he's playing the exact same team with identical rosters. The reason the Suns aren't impressing me is because, or not impressing me more than the Bucks are disappointing me, is because the Bucks aren't giving them their best shot. You beat somebody when they give you your best shot, all of a sudden they'll say, yes, clap for you, I am impressed. But the Suns are beating the Bucks when Drew Holiday's scoring 33% of his field goals. The Suns are beating the Bucks when Coach Bud is making no adjustments. The Suns are beating the Bucks when Chris Middleton is regressing instead of progressing. So none of that tells me I should be impressed with the Suns as opposed to vastly disappointed with these Bucks.
100% correct. And again, I'm not going to focus on the offense, but I'm going to focus simply on the categories where effort comes up biggest. The Phoenix Suns in Game 2 had 11 offensive rebounds, and 6 of those came from their backcourt. Devin Booker had 2 offensive rebounds. Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges. That's simply a matter of effort and boxing out and getting after it. The Bucks demonstrated against the Atlanta Hawks, against the Brooklyn Nets, what they're capable of when they play with collective energy at the defensive end. They've beaten a better 3-point shooting team in the Brooklyn Nets than these Phoenix Suns. So I know that it's within their capability to do more than they're doing. And that's why, Marcellus, when I look at this, what we've seen so far, it hasn't been that close. The Bucks have threatened, but we didn't expect that it was going to be a runaway train certainly not the way that it has been in terms of the Bucks simply not showing up and giving you your best effort. That's, look, you make shots, you miss shots. That's going to happen. It's part of the game. You're going to turn the ball over. There are going to be matchups that you've got to figure out. But this pure effort of we're going to close out on threes and we're going to make them take contested shots, we're going to box out and we're not going to allow them to have second chance opportunities, particularly when they're playing small, that is a matter of effort. And I think I'm fully within my rights to say I'm disappointed in the effort that the collective Milwaukee Bucks have given so far in this series.
Man, fully within your rights. I should arrest your ass. That's how it sounds like, arrest you. Logical fallacies just dropping out y'all pockets. Let me tell you, nobody in sports ever has played bad without some help. You know why? Because the other team is out there to make sure you play bad. So y'all keep coming out here with this level play and like, why aren't we seeing maximum performance from everyone? Because the other team is putting it on them. And then guess what you got to do? Respond, and sometimes you can't. Here's an example in short. You've been on a team before and played where the team balled, but you didn't. Or you balled and the team didn't. Point being, we used to play the Seattle Seahawks when I was playing. 7-9, 8-8 every year. They weren't special, 9-7. And we would win. And then everybody was like, what you do, Wiley? I had Walter Jones today, bro. Where was Wiley? Under Walter Jones, wherever he was stepping. That's where my face was, getting stepped on. So I don't want to hear that, Slick. Don't get mad at me, Slick. Coming up, Naomi Osaka. We got to get into this again. With you, Slick, is calling for better protection for players with the media. We'll have a lot more on this next. Don't speak for yourself. Like they just showed up. Couldn't walk. Naomi Osaka pulled out of the French Open over a month ago and skipped Wimbledon, citing her mental health and dealing with the media. Now she penned an essay in Time magazine's Olympic preview saying in part, quote, I felt a great amount of pressure to disclose my symptoms, frankly, because the press and the tournament did not believe me. She added that she wants to see measures to protect athletes with the media. Slick Rick is with us, so Rick, you're a member of the media. Is Naomi Osaka right, saying athletes need better protection in the media?
No, she's not right because she's not clear about what athletes need to be protected from. And if an issue is important to you, whether it's social justice or it's mental health, then it is vital that you be clear in order to avoid leaving it open for your critics to question your cause. And this subject is important to me and personal because I have some people that are close to me that have dealt with depression and have dealt with performance anxiety as a result of it. And it's not something that I had ever experienced before, and I've been on a learning curve in terms of understanding it. But if you're going to go out into the public eye, it's important to be clear on what it is that you are talking about. And before we can address the what in terms of what has to change, we have to know why. And there are so many things that Naomi has said that are confusing. She loves the press, and yet she needs to be protected from them. She wants to change press conferences, but the truth is that she just doesn't love all press conferences. And we could go down the line in terms of the confusion that is created here. And so even in terms of I don't want to be a spokesman for mental health, and yet you are writing a essay, a first-person essay, and you are on the cover of Time magazine talking about mental health. So it's not the issue of mental health that is concerning for me here. It's that Naomi is approaching it in a way that is really hard to figure out exactly what she's after. It sounds to me like she wants her choice of which press conferences to do and which conferences not to do. And that is a completely different subject from the issue of mental health, whether it's athletes or society at large.
Slick, I do think Naomi Osaka is right. And I don't think she is doing everything right, but I do think that she is right. We know that mentally we are behind where we should be as a society as far as awareness, but physically and pertaining to and trying to tend to the needs physically, we're relatively caught up. 2014, the NFL had said, you know what? We need a neutral neurologist on the sidelines because players are getting concussions and they are willingly running back into the games. The team doctors are letting them run back into the games. The coaches and assistant coaches are also letting these players run back into the games, even at their own expense, even at the expense of their own health. However, the NFL said, for the betterment of the athlete, we're going to have a neutral arbiter, neurologist. You're on the sideline, not paid by the team. You need to check out the player when there's a head injury before they can go back into the game. If we do that to watch out for an athlete's physical health, why not do that to watch out for an athlete's mental health? Why not have a psychologist, a neutral psychologist, consultant, where he or she can see if the athlete is ready, prepped to answer a question, or if a question that might be disparaging, that neutral psychologist can say, you know what? Next question. We know in life that we need to tend to the physical, and we've taken steps to tend to the physical, like the NFL did in 2014. Why don't we take those same steps to tend to the mental? If we're all in agreement that we haven't paid enough attention to our mental health as we have our physical health, we've caught up on some of the physical health issues, it's time we catch up on the mental health issues. I'll end in story form. When I was playing for the Eagles, 13, 14, and 15, every morning we had to do a CNS check, central nervous system. We would attach electrodes to our palm, to our forehead. It would gauge our body's readiness for activity. It would send them to our directors of sports science. It would send the results to them. Based upon those results, they would dictate how much practice you, an individual, would participate in. Do we need to cut practice short for you? Do we need to give you more rest or recovery time based upon your central nervous system? They were trying to gauge your limitations physically. We've gone above and beyond to measure physical limitations. It's time we go above and beyond to measure mental limitations as well.
I'm with Slick. I think athletes are already protected. If you've ever had a professional athlete experience at the lowest level all the way to being #1 in the world and playing tennis, you understand how we have a protected experience. I've talked time and time again how I had elders, grown men who used to pick up sweaty towels full of blood and other fluids on it from all of the players just walking around because we didn't have the time or the focus to even drop it in the laundromat. So we know we have a protected experience. And I just give you that example to just let you know and illustrate how we're protected. We go to a different city, there's police escorts. And I used to always say, why we got the police escort? No one would know who was on this damn tenant bus if you just let us get to the hotel, but you're bringing all of this attention, et cetera, et cetera. I'm only saying that because I want to highlight that pro sports, the 0.001% that have ever walked this planet to be blessed enough to play pro sports, all understand that pro sports is Darwinism at its finest. Let me tell you that. And since we're going to talk about it like that because the numbers support it, so few can do it, so few attain it. It's survival of the fittest. And that's not just a physical conversation. That's a mental conversation. So if we truly respect mental health, as much as we're trying to say we respect physical health, well, it's time to take the training wheels off the conversation if you really want them to be treated equally. If you're physically compromised to a point in pro sports, guess what? You can't play. Or you're going to have to play compromised. Same thing needs to occur with mental health if we're going to really respect it as an equal. If you're compromised mentally, there's going to be consequences that come from that as well. The problem with mental health is the abstract. There's no objective measures to the same degree as there are physical health measures. So people stop short of their criticism and harshness because they don't even know what the end game, end goal is in terms of your mental health. So did you have a bad day? Do you have nervousness? Or is it a symptom of anxiety? Or is it depression? All of those things are impossible to fully measure in these moments. So I say it like this. Surfers know there's a way to get out of the ocean to avoid the waves, right? Or there's another way to avoid the waves. Learn how to surf them. Learn how to ride them. Learn how to get on them and make them work with you, work for you. And this is what I want athletes to understand. As a man thinketh, so is he. As a woman thinketh, so is she. I want Naomi to understand that all of these questions can be discerned and turned around to a positive for you and your experience. But if you don't want to take the efforts to even do media training, despite being #1 in the world, then how are you going to be properly equipped with the tools to do so?
I like that. And I think that Naomi Osaka does, as an individual athlete in an individual sport, need to take accountability to do media training. I don't know if she is or isn't, but you're right. She said that she had not done any, so maybe she has since then, but we can assume no. Yep. Here's what I'll say, though, Sel and Slick.
Let's go.
Is I don't know if you can't measure mental health or we are just not measuring it. Okay. Right? Like, we said that you can't measure it, but I know I played in the league. You played in the league longer than I. They never made an attempt to measure it. I also know I played with one of the most foremost thinking coaches in NFL, probably NFL history, in Chip Kelly. Everything we were doing from a sports science perspective was about 3 to 4 years ahead of everybody else in the NFL. And I can speak from my experience or the experience from knowledge of the league. My brother also had a 9-year NFL career. There is much less additive support to the mental as there is the physical. Sel, after you play a game on Sunday, Monday or Tuesday's your day off. You got massages already booked up for you. The team will have them for you, or you can go book them on your own. You got the recovery already there for you. During the course of a week, Slick Rick, in the NFL schedule, you're doing weights probably 2 to 3 times a week in season for about 1.5 hours a day. After you're doing weights, you have a protein shake there for you. You have meals there for you. You have everything in line to support your physical health. But I don't think, Sel, it can be argued, because I was on a team as you were on a team, that there is much less support for the mental health. Now, Naomi Osaka is a conversation of her own because she is an individual sport. But as it pertains to team sports, we know exactly what to do and how to do it. And we do take leaps and bounds to support the physical. But we take no leap and no bound to support the mental. We had a sports psychologist come to Philly about once every 2 months. We had a strength coach on staff who we saw once every 2 days. So if we are going to take the physical as serious as the mental, then we have to support it as well.
I agree with all of that when it comes to mental health. The problem that I have with what Naomi is doing is she's suggesting that somehow the press conferences are the place where that mental health is challenged. And I would dare say that social media is a far greater threat to all of us when it comes to mental health than anything that happens in a press conference. And for me to address the issues in a press conference, I need to know which ones she loves and which ones she doesn't, and why she loves certain ones and why she doesn't love the other ones. And to your guys' point, when it comes to media training, look, I've provided that myself. So I know what the value of it is, and it's to prepare you for those questions that you may not see coming, or that are the big elephant in the room, so that you know how to handle them, so they don't intimidate you, so they don't throw you sideways. That's what media training is all about. So the fact that she hasn't explored that, and yet she is suggesting that that is the problem, is really shooting in the dark at what the issue is. And it's cross-referencing press conferences with mental health. And I'm just not sure that those two things belong in the same conversation.
Exactly. It is shooting in the dark. And I can't care more about something than you. This reminds me of growing up. I used to have all my friends read the newspapers, listen to television, watch movies. And a lot of it, you know, especially in the 80s, was talking about inner city Los Angeles. And they would sit there and digest and internalize some of these messages, which weren't literal, but they took them literally. And then they used to walk around, man, we ain't got no resources. We have limited resources. And I'll say, yeah, what do you mean by that? As we're walking past the YMCA, as we're walking past the library, as we continue our walk past another library, and they keep talking about what we don't have. And they never took advantage of what we did have. That's why none of this stuff phases me. Why? Because I only count those with me, not against me. Everybody else who's against me, I understand. When you go to a wedding, you're not supposed to wear white. You're not supposed to upstage it. When you go on social media and you hit that app and you log in, username, password, know you about to go through the jungle. And you can't just pet the nice lions. The other ones are sitting there roaring too. And you got to learn how to navigate through this experience. My last thing is just to enlighten people, because Acho had a different NFL experience than I did. I remember coming to the NFL, and we had a player developmental director on every single team who was sitting there. His entire job, usually a former player, is to sit there and say, how's life going? Forget football. That's for you and your coaches and your coordinators. How's life going? Now, he sat in that office a many a times empty. And then when I would come in there and a few other guys, he would go back to that same office. It would be empty. The resources were there. People don't take advantage of it. You bring up the sports psychologist as well. He would come in, like you said. He'd fly in, he'd say, hey, here's my number, here's my info, here's my cards. You get preferential treatment. Call me. Ask him how many times his phone would ring. That's the conversation that we're really having. Naomi, these resources are available to you. But until you take full utilization of those resources, I don't think you should come out and condemn the entire thing. As we say, we all have a bad day, but the whole school ain't sick. Coming up, the Tar Heels are not fans of a proposed 12-team college football playoff. We'll tell you if we agree with their criticism. That's next on Speak for Yourself.
Now, you know that helps.
College football playoff could see some changes if the proposed format to switch from 4 teams to 12 goes through. 12? But the University of North Carolina is not a fan, preferring 6 to 8 teams instead. One player says 16 or 17 games is, quote, a lot of wear and tear on the body, especially when we ain't getting paid. Head coach Mac Brown said, quote, good boy, they wanted the playoffs to be about who is good enough to win all the games or win the national championship, not just have a bunch of teams involved. Ooh, Bucky is back. And he's a UNC alum. So, Acho, let's start with you. You agree with the Tar Heels' criticism of expanding the college football playoff?
I do. And one, I'll never disagree with Mac Brown because he gave me a scholarship to the University of Texas. My guy. But secondly, it might be the wisest thing that I've heard. And I finally can speak with the utmost experience of anybody in the world. 2008, I don't get to go to the national championship, not because we weren't qualified, but because we had a loss to Texas Tech. Texas Tech had a loss to Oklahoma. Oklahoma goes to the national championship game, and they had one loss to us, the University of Texas. So I didn't get to go to the national championship game my freshman year because it is so limited and so hard to go in college football. That's what makes college football great. Because my sophomore year, guess what we knew going into that season? We had to be perfect. And that we were 13-0. Now I go to the national championship, ultimately falling to Alabama. What made and makes college football so great is that excellence is imperative. Other sports, you ain't got to be excellent. NFC East, 7-9, go ahead and go into the playoffs. But you got to be excellent in college football. And that's why college football is so great. In the NFL, 44% of teams make the playoffs. In the NBA, 53% of teams make the playoffs. In the MLB, 33% of teams make the playoffs. In March Madness, 19% of teams make the playoffs. But in college football as it stands, you only got 3% of teams in the playoffs. So what makes college football so great is the fact that there is an excellent bar that you have to attain to get to where you want to get to. If you remove that bar of excellence, you remove the greatness of the sport.
Hey.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think they need to open up for more teams because here's where we're getting to. When we think about the 4 teams that play in the college football playoff, it's the same 4 or 5 teams. Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, maybe Oklahoma, Notre Dame. Those are the teams, LSU, every now and then get in. Everybody else, no one cares about. So now we got to the point in the bowl season. The bowl games are just like spring games. Everyone is opting out. No one's paying attention to who's playing and those things. If we want to put more eyeballs on the sport, you have to put more eyes, more teams in so we can see those other teams. We see it at every other level of football. FCS, Division II, Division III, 16-team playoffs, and no one complains about that. We see it in March Madness. 68 teams are in the tournament that we all love in March Madness. And so I don't think more waters it down. I think it actually enhances it because now we get a chance to see all of the conference champions go. We get to see some of the other big names go. We get to have some debates between these group of 5 teams that deserve a chance to play. Hey, let's put them on the field and let's let the game determine who the championship is, as opposed to a bunch of people on the outside saying these are the 4 best teams. We don't really care about the others.
Oh, man, Bucky, I was with you, but then I wasn't with you. I'm actually with your school. This expansion right now. Don't go too far with this expansion. I like it the way it is. I don't give a damn. You know what it is, 4 teams. Make yourself one of those 4 teams. So what? It's the same teams. Because if you go and expand it, all of a sudden the games prior to the college football playoffs mean even less. And they already starting to mean less. You brought it up. Traditional bowl games mean less. Guys are opting out. Well, if you expand it, they're going to mean even less. It's going to continue. Dominoes continue to fall. So, look, the top team's going to be the top teams. Where are you going to stop? Because we're going to go from 4, we're going to go to 8, then we're going to go to 12, 16. Next thing you know, we're watching March Madness over here. We're going to have 68 teams out there. It's going to be number 16 Columbia versus number 1 Texas. Gonna whoop that. We're going to do what we do, baby. But the point is, I just don't want it to lose its exclusivity. Like, I like the fact that Acho brought up that full screen. 3.1% as I went to a very esteemed university by the name of Columbia University. Now, why is it a great university? I know one thing, its acceptance rate. Boy, it's the lowest in the country. So, hey, you want everybody in there, it has an effect. It has a consequence. Coming up, Damian Lillard did not deny the recent trade rumors, but we'll tell you if the Blazers should be worried about what he did actually say. That's next on Speed. Damian Lillard's time in Portland could be coming to an end. Trade rumors started flying after the Blazers were eliminated from the playoffs. Dame said he would keep any thoughts he has on a possible move in-house. But he also did not deny any of the reports. Take a listen.
There's a lot of things being said, and sometimes words being put in my mouth, and I haven't said anything. All of the people who covered me since I've been in the NBA, they know that if there's something to be said, or if I think something or have something to say, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to stand on it.
Ooh, Acho. Should the Blazers be worried about Dame's comment?
No doubt. And they should have been worried since his Nipsey comment after they got eliminated. How much longer should I stay dedicated? Like, how much longer until preparation meets opportunity? They should have been worried. You got to worry because he's giving them a reason to worry. Dame could easily say, nah, I'm committed to being a Trailblazer. I want to be here the rest of my career. And he's not.
Thank you.
Instead, he's saying, if I got something to say, I'll say it to the people I got to say it to. Which implies he does have something to say or will eventually have something to say. He's just not going to tell us. Y'all should be worried, but you also should expect it. Like, at the end of the day, y'all got 9 good years out of Dame, 9 great years out of Dame, and y'all ain't give him nothing in return. So you can't even feel bad. You honestly just got to feel like this is our bed. We made our bed. Now it's time for us to lay in it. A player as talented as Dame. Sale, you called him a superstar. If not, he is right outside the door of being a superstar. Can't have a superstar for 9 years and not give him enough help to want to stay.
Exactly. I echo what you're saying there because Dame never silenced this conversation, which is easy to do because we've all been in this predicament before where it's like, okay, should I tell him the real or should I just tell him, hey, when I have the real to say, I'll be the one to say it. I noticed that because Dame is real. Dame is authentic. But what he did here is what Grandma used to say, the truth is simple, baby. Lies are complex. So he started dancing. Now, Dame is different. He dances to the beat of his own drum, but he's still dancing because all he had to say is, I'm staying in Portland. That's what's so crazy about this. Maybe I wasn't big enough and good enough. I had my moments, but boy, I would just silence, like, why do I want the chaos? Why do I want the confusion? If I'm here, I'm here. Now, people always say, you're going to give up leverage if you say and commit. No, I'm not. I'm telling them I'm here. Build around me properly. They've tried, efforts, fallen short, so now they're in a new predicament. Dame is going to say something. He just told you he's going to say something. He hasn't said it yet. But when you look for it, look at Dame. He's going to be real, and he's going to keep it to you. Coming up, the Suns are 2 wins away from their first championship. Tell you if this series is over. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. Dame was going to say it. He going to say it. Tomorrow, one of the biggest Copa finals in history is on FS1. Defending champion Brazil squares off with Messi in Argentina. It's a huge showdown for the Copa America. Coverage begins tomorrow at 7 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Manana, homie. The Suns are up 2-0 in the NBA Finals behind strong performances from Devin Booker and Chris Paul. The series shifts to Milwaukee for Game 3 on Sunday. And Giannis said, quote, we've been here before. We know what the deal is. Okay, Acho. Are the finals over? Sounds like it.
No, sir. Bucks 7-1 at home, Sal. Yo, remember the Bucks were down 2-0 to the Nets? Came back, won that in 7. Bucks lost the first game to the Hawks. Came back and won that series. Now they down 2-0 to the Suns. When Giannis says he's been here before, he has been here before. The finals aren't over. Bucks gonna go home, take care of their business. Remember, everybody, the Suns were supposed to win the first 2. You're supposed to control home court. Bucks are gonna rebound, control their home court, and then the series is gonna really start at Game 5.
Okay, you talk about the Nets and you talk about the Hawks. I think that the Bucks know it's over because the Nets, they got injured soon they went back there to Milwaukee. And the Hawks, they got injured when they went back. Trae Young, anywhere. Kyrie Irving, anywhere. James Harden, where your other leg? So that's not going to happen unless you're telling me there's injury coming the Phoenix Suns' way. No. In best-of-7 series, teams that go up 2-0, they have a 926 win percentage. It's a problem. It's over. Like this show. Like this weekend is about to start. That's it. Fox Bet Live is next. Bye, Giannis.